It's 2 in the morning. You're staring out the window, feeling the weight of another day where nothing seemed to change. You're exhausted, yet your mind won't stop looping through the same frustrations. You look at your life and wonder why the momentum has died. You're working, you're trying, but the needle isn't moving. It feels like you're waiting for a signal that never comes. We usually look for excuses in our environment or our luck, but the reality you see outside is a reflection of the thoughts you carry inside. Your greatness is a direct result of your internal narrative. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the wealthiest people in the world before he finished writing Think and Grow Rich. He distilled his findings into a single sharp truth. You become exactly what you think about. This principle is the bedrock for innovators like Elon Musk. He didn't build his companies by looking at his current limitations. He built them by operating as if his future success was already an objective fact. If mindset creates reality, then the high rate of failure suggests a systemic problem. Most stay stuck because they are waiting for a stroke of luck to change their lives, instead of focusing on the value they can provide. A beggar at a busy railway station lived this reality every day. He sat in the same spot, hands held open, waiting for passing travelers to drop a few coins of pity into his palms. Many of us live our lives in that same posture. We wait for a promotion, a partner, or a windfall to fix our situation, effectively asking the world to solve a problem we haven't addressed ourselves. This is Venus. In ancient Vedic astrology, this is Shukra, the powerful planet that governs your deep sense of self-worth. It represents the price tag you put on your own existence. The beggar's internal value was set to 0. He moved through the world convinced that he had nothing of merit to offer anyone. Because he saw himself as empty, the world treated him accordingly. His daily experience was a perfect mirror of his own perceived worthlessness. This is the psychological trap. When you operate from a place of constant need, you broadcast a frequency of lack. Life responds to the value you project, not the pity you seek. One day, a well-dressed businessman arrived at the station. The beggar saw the expensive suit and immediately prepared his pitch, expecting a large handout from a man who clearly had money to spare. He reached out his hand, but the businessman didn't reach for his wallet. Instead, he asked a question that stopped the beggar cold. Have you ever actually given anything to anyone? Confused, the beggar argued that he had nothing to give. He was a beggar. His only role was to receive. The businessman stood his ground. He explained that as a trader, he only believed in exchange. If the beggar had nothing to offer in return, then there was no basis for a transaction. The universe functions on this exact principle of reciprocity. It doesn't pay out for neediness. It pays out for contribution. This is Saturn, or Shani. In the cosmic order, Saturn represents the law of karma and the necessity of effort. Shani rewards discipline and value. The law is straightforward. You provide the seed of effort first, and the harvest follows later. You cannot reap where you haven't sown. The beggar spent 2 nights grappling with this. He sat in the dark, trying to identify a single thing he possessed that could be considered valuable to a stranger. He finally looked toward the railway tracks and saw wildflowers blooming in the dirt. He began gathering them. The next time someone handed him a coin, he didn't just say thank you, he handed them a flower. The dynamic shifted immediately. People weren't just dropping coins, they were stopping to smile and admire the flowers. By introducing a product, he had turned his begging spot into a point of commerce. When the businessman returned weeks later, the beggar was ready. He offered a flower in exchange for money. The businessman smiled, took the flower, and told him that he was no longer a beggar. He had become a businessman. As the train left the station, the man realized his identity had shifted. He was now a trader. The coins in his pocket were no longer charity. They were earnings for a service provided. 6 months later, 2 well-dressed men met on that same platform. The former beggar had used his daily earnings to source better flowers and build a steady clientele. He was now traveling to negotiate a wholesale contract for his growing floral trade. This is Jupiter, or Guru. It is the planet of expansion and belief. Jupiter amplifies whatever internal state you hold. Once the man stopped seeing himself as a victim and started seeing himself as a provider, Jupiter expanded that new belief into a tangible, thriving business. You aren't here to ask life for permission to exist. You are here to offer something that only you can provide. Feeling small is often a symptom of neglected potential. You haven't lost your value. You've just been looking at it through the lens of a beggar instead of a creator. If you're ready to shift your focus, comment next below. Follow our Instagram at TheNextyou for more insights into rewriting your internal narrative. Your breakthrough begins the moment you decide you have something worth giving.